Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Ramont Williams, and tonight we're going to be talking about communication. Um, and I did a show today on TikTok, and it was in relevance to um, communications. Also, you have to excuse me. I have a slight cold. So, with that being said, I like to read something, if I may. Um, Most people think they communicate, but what they're really doing is acting emotionally. So let's talk about that. How do we communicate effectively when this is clearly defining that way that most people communicate with each other, are communicating based off emotions? So, so if we define that, emotions is a feeling. So when you're responding to someone based on your feelings, then that's how basically your communications is going to be perceived. Um, I don't really know any better way to put it than that. So let's go to the next one. When people communicate based off emotions, 9 times out of 10, they're basically defensive. They find themselves without even realizing that they're defending themselves for no particular reason other than their own personal satisfaction, gratification. So, or oftentimes, a lot of people that lack the ability to communicate effectively, they just shut down. They refuse to communicate at all. I don't understand this, but um, that's what they do. And it's sad that people do that. Let me see if actually on Facebook. I am. So how give me your input. So what do you think we can do as adults to be more effective in communicating, expressing our thoughts or sharing our thoughts where they're in line with what our desires are? How do we do that? I think that until we as adults come to the realization that we have to start being more sincere, more honest, respecting each other, then the communication will always fail. It really will. Um, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me because when I talk to people, the way that I talk, the way I express myself, my thoughts, my words kind of flow with my thoughts. And I think that's kind of difficult for a lot of people. They have to kind of like sit back and think for a minute of what, they need to say. So with that being said, what do we do? That's the question. A lot of people, as I said earlier today, want to date, but they don't want to compromise and they don't want to make the sacrifices to date. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play a video, okay? I want y'all to watch this video and then I'll comment on it. Let's see. Facebook.
Doesn't get any better than that.
This is going to trigger a lot of women. And if it triggers you, that means it was meant for you.
Ooh.
I don't avoid the truth just because someone's ego is not ready to take it. A lot of women proudly say I have standards, but what they really mean is I want a man who gives me everything while I give the bare minimum. You want a man who's emotionally mature, financially stable, loyal, masculine, emotionally intelligent. While you can't handle accountability, you don't know how to communicate. You expect him to read your mind. You don't want a partnership. You want a provider, a therapist, a mind reader, all in one man. You demand emotional maturity where you get defensive the moment you're called out.
So let's stop it right there. This is where the communication drastically fails. Because a lot of women, a lot of you women, you're expecting something that you're not willing to give. And men today are men, and they're not willing to just give relentlessly without receiving something in return. Some men do because they can afford it, and even the men that could afford it don't do it because it's not practical. So you women have to be a little bit more realistic. If you're looking for a certain lifestyle and you're not looking for a relationship and you're looking for a sponsorship, then I think in all fairness, you should let a man know that and let him have the option to choose whether he wants to finance you, whether he wants to purchase you, or whatever title you choose to put on that. But the man should be given that opportunity. It's kind of funny how a lot of women don't like to be deceived, but yet your every action is deceptive. you refuse to communicate because it's easier for you to be deceptive in your silence than it is for you to openly convey your thoughts. So what this lady is saying here is basically a lot of you women today don't want real men. You don't want to be in a relationship with real men. You want people to be your floor mat. You want them to be a sponsorship or a person to just have their wallet or a credit card available at your whim, your demand. And that's just a sad reality because that's not going to happen with most men today. Okay? So we have to be more selective in the people that we choose to engage. And we also have to create the means to be better communicators, more effective communicators. Because everybody that talks don't communicate effectively. And that's just a sad reality. So with that being said, let's continue to see what this lady is talking about.
Traditional women calling out modern women doesn't get any better than that.
This is going to trigger a lot of women. And if minimum. You want a man who's emotionally mature, financially stable, loyal, masculine, emotionally intelligent. While you can't handle accountability, you don't know how to communicate, you expect him to read your mind.
Talk.
You don't want a partnership. You want a provider, a therapist, a mind reader, all in one man. You demand emotional maturity where you get defensive the moment you're called out. You want consistency, but chase men who give you anxiety because chaos feels exciting.
Talk that
You
shit.
say you want a masculine leader, but reject anything that requires you to show up feminine.
Okay, she said it. I didn't. A lot of you, excuse me, a lot of you women have these prerequisites, and you expect men pretty much to jump through hoops when you're not giving anything in return. And some of you that do offer your goodies, it's not even worth what you're bartering for. So accountability comes up a lot, and the reason it comes up because it's so easy for both men and women to deflect when they have no validation. So what I mean by that is simply this, that when you don't have a truth to stand on, then what you do is you just create this illusion and try to get people to buy into that what you're saying is actually valid or real, when you know very well that it's not. And anyone with any form of discernment, excuse me, can see that also. You have a lot of women that's getting on board to dispel this narrative that's plaguing the internet. And what a lot of women have done, someone came up with this idea. I don't know if they got it from AI or they just ingeniously created it, but they call women that support men pick-me's. And what that simply means, for those of you that may not know, is they're saying that the women are craving attention, so they're begging the men to pick them based on their verbal support. And in most of the cases, that's not even true. Women are being affected by a lot of these women on social media's decisions and the things they say and do, the way they dress, the way they act. And these women are actually saying, if they're not in relationships, that they are actually, or they actually possess those traditional traits that most men look for. They're willing to compromise. They're willing to go 50-50. They're willing to cook. They're willing to clean. They're willing to give you a legacy if that's what you desire, which means children. Where a lot of you women, they're not into superficial things. And that's not to say that they don't get their hair done. They don't get their nails, their feet done. That don't mean that they don't dress up. But what it means is that's not a priority. Excuse me. Their priority is to captivate a man's attention, win his heart, and invest in something to build with this man, to partner with this man. They're not coming in it with ulterior motives to just get what they can get and then split. And that's what a lot of women are doing today. They're coming in, they're making these unnecessary demands, and men are just sitting back. Okay, I'm not tripping. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing those games. So if you don't want to pursue a relationship, then I'll seek someone that will. Okay, so let's finish seeing what this lady is talking about.
You call it high standards, but it's really just entitlement. Standards aren't about what you demand from others. Standards are about what you demand from yourself. If you want emotional maturity, heal your triggers. If you want consistency, stop entertaining inconsistency. If you want depth, stop showing up shallow. If you want leadership, be someone worth leading. And that's why you keep getting hurt. Not because good men don't exist, but because you're not the woman your ideal man would choose. Build your standards on your character, not fantasies. Because when you
Okay, she mentioned standards, and I think I kind of touched base on that today. Um, a lot of let's see, standards, and I think I kind of touched base on that today. A lot of women don't have realistic standards, so they come in with this illusion that they're going to make demands, and a man is just going to bow down and honor their demands. Well, when you understand God's divine order, as this lady is putting it without putting it in this terminology, then you know you have a role to play, just like you're expecting this man to play a role. But when you come in with this cloak, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, and you're acting all nice, you're all made up with your clown suit on, your war paint, and you're expecting this man to just like, okay, this is the woman. This is the woman I'm willing to walk down the aisle with. This is the woman I'm willing to invest all my money, time, and energy with. And in return, I get nothing but maybe some used, tainted coochie. That's it. And a bunch of unwanted demands. So the communication, again, if you're not sincere about a relationship, why would you even engage with a person? And I'm speaking on both men and women. Why not just say, be honest, hey, I'm just looking for some money, or I'm just looking for a piece of behind. And let that person choose or decide at that time whether they want to engage with you. Because a lot of times, what I've seen, I've noticed, and I've also experienced, a lot of women get dressed up, get made up, and they get with their girlfriends or talk to their girlfriends and say that they met someone and they believe this person is be the one to come in and sponsor their entitled thoughts, and that's not even the case, because if a man is established, and men usually pursue women, it's not the other way around. So if I see you visually, because that's what we are, men, we operate on the premises of visualization. If I like what I see, without even talking to you, the next phase of this process is to engage you in a conversation, to see what your thought process are, what your goals and desires are, and if they're in line with what mine are. And oftentimes, they're not. When you meet people, what you're meeting is their representatives most of the time. And it doesn't apply always, but most of the time it does. And as time goes along, both for men and women, your true characteristics start to come to the surface. And at that time, if a person has that discernment, they'll see it and they'll say, you know what? Nah, it's not the person I met. It's not the person that I thought they were. So I'm going to bow out of this. But oftentimes, a lot of women, they're persuaded by a man's looks, way he talk. He has on a certain type of jewelry, and the list goes on and on. So they'll give in become intimate with these guys, very well knowing that these guys don't have their best interests at hand. So they become bitter. So now they take on the slander campaign against men. Men ain't shit. Men this, men that. but the reality of it, you chose that man. You had the opportunity to not engage with him intimately, but you chose to for whatever reason. Now that it didn't turn out the way that you expected to, maybe the man is not moving or changing in the direction that you want him to. So now all men become pieces of shit. All men become bitches. All men become dogs, disloyal, and all these terminologies you use towards men. But the reality of it is, as this lady was saying, when you set your standards, they have to be realistic and you have to take accountability for the choices that you make. You can't deflect and say or generalize that all men are dogs based on a decision or experience you had with one or two individuals. That's not realistic. So let's continue to see what she's talking about.
You call entitlement empowerment or feminism, it's not confidence, it's delusion.
The more women like this that speak out about the modern dating market and what the truth really is, not for nothing, the better it's going to eventually be, because women are also waking up, or they just acknowledge the bullshit. Women want all the things that they are not themselves. They have a whole list of standards and they meet none of them. They go by this false fake reality that they deserve everything. They're going to be triggered by what she's mad wholesome, mad chill, mad traditional. The opposite of how most women are now. Loud, obnoxious, rude as hell, disrespectful. The list goes on. So of course they're going to call her a pick-me, but this is exactly what men want. Emotional maturity, soft-spoken. You can just tell by looking at a certain woman, there's no chaos there. How she carries herself. And women who are chaotic are going to hate this message, and that's why she says they're going to be triggered. So shout out to this woman, another good woman speaking the good shit, and we need more of this ASAP. Traditional women calling out modern women doesn't get this. Not for nothing, the best I just obnoxious, rude as hell, disrespectful. The list goes on. So of course they're gonna call her a pick-me, but this is exactly what men want. Emotional maturity, soft-spoken. You can just tell by looking.
Well, I don't know what's up with that video, but I'll continue proceed with this. Men, as I alluded to earlier, desire good women or a good woman. And most men that have their life together, if they're not exercising their option to date multiple women and they're looking for one woman to build with or share with, because we as men, we're a little bit more giving when it comes to gifts, when it comes to financing or sharing our worldly possessions, where women are just the opposite, most women. Now, I've met women and dated women that have, excuse me for a second. Oh, this cold is killing me. Came out of nowhere. I met women that have bought me gifts, colognes, shoes, shirts, without me even suggesting that I needed anything. And these are women, the type of women that men that are established appreciate, because they know, or we know, that these type of women, anything that we do, they appreciate. And they show their appreciation through reciprocating the things that they receive. So it becomes a give and take thing in a relationship, if you will, where this woman is giving passionately from her heart, just as the man is. And normally that's something profound, and you can usually build off that. But when you get a person, and I've had this happen to me on numerous occasions, meet women, you thinking that they're okay. And it really doesn't matter their age, because I've dated younger women, I've dated middle-aged women, and I've dated older women. And before you can even really get engulfed in a conversation, here they come with something in relation to their personal finances. You know, all of a sudden they went from nice and pleasant to ooky or yucky and and disturbing, if you will, for lack of better words. And they get on this, well, I'm not feeling good because I got to pay my rent tomorrow, or you know, I need money for my car insurance. It's something attached to. It's always attached to something financial. So to men like myself, that's an instant turnoff, because you didn't meet me with the hopes of meeting a good guy, hoping to develop something. You entertained the thought of meeting me because you thought you can manipulate or convince me to empathize with your so-called plight or your financial distraught. Okay? But here's the thing. Most men, middle class, such as myself, we have homes, we have cars, we have investments, we have pretty good jobs. So we learned how to manage our finances. That's the reason if we're single, we don't have to go out and beg women for money to pay our bills, or to go and get a shave, a haircut, you know, or go out and buy a new pair of J's or put gas in our car. But, you know, to me, I think that is so sad that a lot of these women consider themselves adults, but they literally have to beg people to maintain the things that they say adults are naturally supposed to have if they work. So my thing is, I don't entertain women like this, and most men that have their life together don't either. You know, to some degree, maybe a dinner, go out, movie, but once you try to engage these women in conversation and you see that there's nobody at home up here, if they're not willing to get naked, it wasn't nothing but a meal. It wasn't nothing but a movie ticket. And then we move on to bigger and better things. And that's not to say that all men are just looking for sexual gratification when they meet women. I'm not even suggesting that. What I'm simply saying is that when you come in with this thought process, meaning you women, and men like myself see it, then I already know you're not worth my time. You're not worth me investing in, because you're looking for a meal ticket. You're looking for a come up, or this bag that you women keep claiming you're trying to acquire. Well, not at my expense. And most men feel the same way. That's the reason we're staying single. Yeah, we date. You know, we're not gay. We have intimate relationships with friends. And with these friends, it's pretty much platonic, and it basically just intimacy with the respect and the understanding based on that. But no one's being deceived. nothing's being misconstrued because we have the understanding up front what it's going to be. So as long as there's a mutual agreement, then everything is hunky-dory. But the problem comes in when a lot of you women start off pleasant and then turn into demons just that fast, especially if you're not hearing things that you want to hear in reference to a man giving you something. I've had ladies ask me on dates, why didn't you bring me some flowers? Okay, my question is, if you like flowers, why didn't you bring your own flowers? You know, that's suggestive. If that was my desire to spend money on flowers, then by all means, you wouldn't have had to bring it up. I would have did it on my own accord. But we need to label this thing today what it is. With a lot of these women, this is just modern day prostitution. And I think it's going to get to a point where the law may get involved and start prosecuting a lot of these alleged claims that women are manipulating men, they're deceiving men, and they're extorting men for financial gain. So if that was to come about, I think a whole bunch of y'all would be running down to justice peace to get married because you don't want to do that jail time, you know, and then people start seeing you for what you are. I see it. If it's a duck, walk like a duck, quack like a duck, look like a duck, it's a duck. I'm not going to say it's an elephant or a horse. That's just unrealistic. And what I see when I see these narratives that's given on social media from these women where they're totally against 50-50. You want a lifestyle that you can't afford yourself. And a man is telling you, well, I have the house, I have the finances, but in order for you to share in my fruits, you have to be willing to meet certain standards or certain qualifications. You don't go to a job, say to a construction job, and you've only worked at McDonald's or some fast food restaurant and say, well, I want to work up there in that crane. There's a process. You have to first be trained and have to have years of experience before you can even entertain the thought of even getting up in that crane, if you ever make it that far. Okay, so you're making these demands or these prerequisites, as I like to call it, that a man, just to be in your presence, have to pay you. So let's think about that for a moment. Most of these girls that's on social media are average. You get one every now and then that may be a 6 or 8. We're not going to get no 9s and 10s, but it's not a lot. And I come to this realization, well, you can't be doing as good as you're pretending because you're still on social media begging. Okay? You're still propagating this lie, like this one sister did. She's saying that all the females on social media are hoes, and she can get stuff from a man that don't have to give up no sex. That had to be the biggest lie I ever heard from a woman. Because she looked like a hoe. She dressed like a hoe. She talks like a hoe. So I can only call it the way I see it. Okay? If you women just want money, why don't you just use your sexuality as a bargaining tool and say, listen, my rent is $1,500. I'm gonna give you some pussy. As soon as you Zelle, Venmo, or cash out me the money, then we go and do our thing. Why all the deception? Why all the disrespect, the lack of communication, just because you feel entitled to something that you really don't deserve? Because what I've seen with a lot of these women, they meet a few of these guys that buy them things, pay their rent, and then the guy get tired because he sees something new that's a little bit more attractive, a little bit more appealing. Now he pulls up stakes and he go there. Now you're left. No job, hair need to be done, nails and feet need to be done. You have no bait and no fish on the line. So it's kind of humorous when you think about it, because you try to illustrate this image that you got it like this. But see, the women that's fortunate enough to find men to sponsor them, what they're doing is they're taking this money. They're not going to the malls. They're not buying all this designer garbage. They're taking this money and they're stacking it up and they're investing it, opening businesses, stocks and bonds. This is what smart women do when those resources are available. But you got a lot of women that's just sitting here saying, I want this. This is what you got to give me just because I am who I am and I'm entitled, I'm self-centered, and I'm selfish. This is what I want. So in order to even be in my presence, to talk to me, you have to do this. And it becomes more than a prerequisite. Now it becomes a demand. Like they have this thing on social media where these guys, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen it, they driving these box Mercedes, Lamborghinis, and these high-end cars. Now I don't actually know if these guys own these cars, because they may just be doing these scenes, these videos, just to see what kind of women they attract. Now, a lot of times these guys don't have on name brand stuff. They just have on casual wear, t-shirt, maybe a jacket if it's cold, and some shorts or something. And they approach these women, and these women get exposed just like that, because they kind of wave the guys off, and they said, I'm not interested. And oftentimes these men say, well, I just want to know your name. And they just blow them off. Man say, okay, I'm going to be a gentleman about this. And they walk off. But in the process of them walking off, they walk towards the car. The women are always engaged, whether they walk away or not. They're looking to see if a man is watching them, watching their butt, if they have a nice, butt. So they're always looking over their shoulders. So when they see the man walk off, he has his back turned. So the woman usually turns maybe a 90-degree so she can see where the man is going that just approached her. So when she see this extravagant car, the first thing goes through her mind, and watch the videos, you'll see, is dollar signs. Oh, this man driving a Lamborghini. Oh, he has money. He can afford my lifestyle. He can sponsor me. He can take me out to eat, get my hair, my nails done. And all these wild delusion thoughts get to running through her mind rapidly. So what she does, she turns around and approaches the guy at the car. So now the guy is defensive, because now you got to remember these are pranks. But the pranks are designed to expose these women for what they are. And a lot of them that I've seen don't even really look that good. They're not even fives and they're walking down the street, and I don't know what city this is or what location it is, but you're dressing like a hoe. You're acting like a hoe because basically what you're saying is, if you don't have no money, you shouldn't even be talking to me. Okay, well, let's play that game. Let's go there. If I have to have money to talk to you, let's go and get a motel room. Let me fuck. I give you what you desire, and then you can kick rocks. Because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sponsor your lifestyle for weeks or months on end. That's what I'm not going to do. So when these guys, when the women come back to the car, the guys are telling them, why are you leaning against the car? Why do you have a change of mind now? Which makes sense. I just approached you as a gentleman. Of course, I'm a stranger. You have a right to be somewhat leery because I just came out of nowhere. But you also you should exercise the right of being courtesy and respectful. Now, if I said something that was inappropriate, I can understand you saying the things that you say. Now that you've blown me off and I've walked away as a man, as a gentleman, and got in my whip, now you see what I'm driving. Now all you see is dollar sign. So now you want to come over here and change your story. So what has changed now from the time that I first approached you? And they make up all these excuses and they trip over themselves. And it's so hilarious and funny to me to see these women do this, because I'm saying to myself, maybe we should do this. I should get with some of the guys here in Vegas, because I think you have a whole bunch of these dumbass women that would actually even buy into it. Even though they scrolled through these videos, they probably didn't watch them because they said, I don't want to see that shit. I think that's a thought. Go and rent some of these exotic cars and park somewhere and just catch a woman walking by and just approach her and see what type of response you get, and see if we can mock what they're doing on social media here in Vegas, because it looks like they're somewhere like back east or in Florida. I think a lot of times they said Florida. So let's see if we can do that and see what kind of response, if we can get somebody to video it so we can put it live here to show. And this is not all women, because I know a lot of you women will be pleasant and be courteous. But a lot of you can't even call these women gold diggers no more, because they're never going to get in the vault to even see the gold, let alone sharing the wealth of the gold. These are women that's so disillusioned and so entitled that they feel, just on their thought process alone, that they can get a man to bow at their feet and put them on a pedestal as though they're gods. And that is so unrealistic, because that's not going to happen. It's really not. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get with some friends of mine that's kind of out there in the streets and see if we can go and rent some of these exotic cars and approach some of these women and see what kind of responses we get. Because at the end of the day, it's just so funny to me that you women, you can't communicate. It's not in you. You don't desire to do it. You say foolish things as though it's a revelation, as though some man is going to take it as a football and run downfield with it. That's not going to happen. Today, men as such as myself, we look at you women and we smile, not because you make us happy, because we see you for what you are. A disillusioned, entitled, selfish, self-centered child pretending to be adult, that's out here in an adult world being irresponsible, won't take accountability for anything, and begging. What I call people like that is degenerates. I don't have to call you a prostitute. You're not real, and you're not going to meet anybody that's real. show me, I would like anybody to show me 10 of these women that's on this platform that have met men and have become successful from it. Hit me up in the comment box. Oh, hey Marina. I'm so sorry. You know, I was having problems with my system. In fact, just stay tuned. I'm supposed to get off here in a minute. And in fact, just send me your email, or I'll hit you up on Messenger. If you're on Messenger, I'll hit you up and we'll talk. And then I'm gonna do a show again tomorrow because I'm off, and we'll get you on. So my apologies, young lady. So let me conclude with this. Coming to the end of the show, I want to thank those of you that tuned in, those of you that may see this because it's being recorded. Join us, Bridging the Gap. You know, I'm your host, Ramont Williams. I would love to get your perspective, get your input. What do you think we can do as a people, as adults, to bridge that gap, to create a dialogue and a platform where men and women can relate to each other better, get a better understanding, and dispel this myth that social media, this narrative, that there's a war between men and women. Okay? So with that being said, you all have a pleasant night. God bless you. Be safe out there. And I will see you tomorrow. Love you all.